She came out of her slider in a neon windbreaker, like a siren you can wear, jabbed a glossy fingernail over the little fence, and said, "Is that a gang sign? My kid is 10. He thinks a sign is the thing that tells you where the pizza place is." It was a warm Saturday, first one of the year, the kind that smells like cut grass and hose water. I was in my kitchen in Maple Crest, Oregon, pouring lemonade and watching my son Jordan teach the new neighbor's boy a goofy handshake he picked up from a space adventure cartoon. Two kids, two plastic shovels, dirt under nails, the simple good stuff. Then their mother, Pamela Whitaker, decided to make it a crime scene with her voice alone. I slid my back door open so hard it rattled. "They're playing," I said, keeping my tone low and even, because that's what black moms learn to do. "On our side of the fence." Pamela's smile was the kind people show the mirror. I know what I saw. This culture is not coming into my home. She pulled out her phone like it was holy water. "Say one more word, and I'll call 911. I looked at Jordan. His shoulders sank, the handshake evaporated. The neighbor kid, Wyatt, blinked like a puppy who heard a sharp whistle and didn't know why. My chest went cold. Inside, I told my son. He obeyed. Kids shouldn't have to read a room like that, but he did. Pamela started her performance on speaker. "Yes, dispatch. There's a large, aggressive juvenile in my yard threatening my child." Her eyes stayed on me while she said it, like daring me to flinch. Two patrol cars rolled up, fast lights, no sirens because nothing travels in a suburb like spectacle. One officer rested his hand near his holster, in that casual way that isn't casual at all. They listened, they looked, they measured tape across that silly 3-foot fence. When the neighbor boy said, small voice, that they'd been on our grass, one officer pinched the bridge of his nose and told Pamela that 911 wasn't a neighborhood complaint line. They left. No apology, because that isn't policy. Just the quiet that comes after a storm, when you know the clouds are still there. Inside, I found Jordan on his bed clutching a ragged stuffed raptor he hasn't touched since kindergarten. "Did I do something bad?" he asked. There are questions that break you and build you at the same time. I told him the handshake was great, that he did nothing wrong, that sometimes people let fear make them cruel, and it has nothing to do with him. He nodded. Kids nod when they're trying to believe you more than they actually do. A week later, the war moved online. Our neighborhood Facebook group, meant for lost cats and garage sale chairs, got a long "just FYI" for parents post about an older, intimidating child and inappropriate gestures. No names, very careful tone. The comments were a prayer circle of concern. The next morning, the HOA mailed me a violation. Our basketball hoop disrupts neighborhood aesthetic cohesion. We've had that hoop 3 years. The day after that, a letter about leaving my recycle bin visible 90 minutes too long. Paper cuts. I started a folder, screenshots, envelopes, dates, everything. I felt ridiculous and also safer. Then came the mall. Jordan needed sneakers. We went to Cedar Ridge Mall, tried on bright red high tops, did little hops that made the laces flash. For 10 minutes I forgot Pamela existed, until that feeling crept up the back of my neck, that static when you're being watched. I looked past sale racks and mannequins, and there she was, half hidden behind a pillar, in a beige trench, staring like a camera that hates you. I squeezed Jordan's hand and steered us toward the exit. We were 15 steps from sunlight when she gasped, pitched her purse onto the floor, and shrieked, "Stop, thief!" He took my wallet. Her finger cut the air right at my son. The concourse froze. 2 security guys jogged over. "Ma'am, step aside," one said to me, eyes already on Jordan, the smallest, blackest person in the frame. He asked my 10-year-old to empty his pockets. Something in me went iron. No, I said, voice low. Pull the cameras. Start with the shoe store. Then the concourse. Now. The head of security, a tired man with watch grooves in his wrist, brought us into a windowless room humming with monitors. We watched the truth, us trying on shoes. Pamela hovering, us walking, Pamela speeding up, opening her own purse, dropping the wallet, throwing herself onto the tiles like she'd been tackled by a ghost. My son didn't even break stride on the footage. The chief rewound slow mode, it leaned back. Well, he said to Pamela, the problem here isn't theft. When the officers arrived, they watched too. The female cop's jaw tightened. They cuffed Pamela for filing a false report and disturbing the peace. She cried, then spit fire, then tried respectability like a scarf, none of it fitting. As they walked her out, she turned and looked at me with a promise in her eyes, not of regret, but revenge. 3 days later, Child and Family Services knocked on my door, clipboards, polite smiles, a script about an anonymous tip, neglect, unstable temperament, unsafe home. It is terrifying how quickly your living room becomes an interview room. I gave them the police case number, the mall video summary, the folder of HOA letters, the screenshots, the Facebook post. They toured the house, spoke to Jordan privately, checked the fridge like I might hide danger between the milk and the lettuce. When they left, the woman paused and said, "We'll be closing this as unfounded, and we'll be noting the malicious context." I nodded and shut the door and slid down it, shaking. Fear is a hum you learn to live with until it gets louder than your thoughts. That night, I stopped reacting and started building. I bought cameras, front door, backyard, side path. I archived every HOA letter and dated every glare. I made a timeline that would make a prosecutor proud. Then I called a civil attorney, Sloan Merritt, 49, blunt, the kind of person who reads a legal form like it's a menu she already knows by heart. I laid it all out. She said, "This is a textbook course of conduct. We're filing for a restraining order tomorrow." A judge signed a temporary order the same afternoon. A sheriff served Pamela on her porch, while my doorcam recorded the choreography, paper in hand, stiff shoulders, the argument that went nowhere. For 2 weeks, quiet, no Facebook psalms, no HOA paper snow. I heard Jordan laugh again in the backyard and let the sound fill the rooms like fresh paint. Kids are stubborn about joy. Jordan and Wyatt couldn't meet at the fence anymore, so they met in a co-op game, headsets on avatars sprinting through some Pixel Canyon voices disguised by explosions. I found out walking past his door one night when I heard, "On 3 we freeze blast, 1, 2, 3. Nice one, Wyatt." I stood there torn between fear and relief, then kept walking. I picked relief. Pamela's attorney didn't. A week before our hearing, Sloan called, "They're claiming you're using your son to violate the spirit of the order through online contact." I felt tired in a way you feel in your knees. We would have to tell the judge the truth, even when the truth is tender. Court smelled like old paper and disinfectant. Sloan was cool water. Pamela had a lawyer who wore cufflinks like punctuation. The judge, an older woman with sharp eyes, watched the mall footage on a screen rolled in on wheels like a substitute teacher day. She read the CPS letter that said malicious, unfounded. Then Sloan asked to call a witness, Wyatt. Pamela's lawyer sputtered. The judge raised an eyebrow. The bailiff fetched a little boy in a too big button-down. "Who's your best friend?" Sloan asked. "Jordan," he whispered without looking at his mother. "Did he ever threaten you?" "No." "Whose idea was gaming?" "Mine," he said, small but steady. I missed him. There are moments when a room's air changes. The judge turned to Pamela and spoke like granite. This was not motherly concern. This was a knowing, willful campaign of harassment built on racial animus. She granted a 5-year restraining order 100 yards from our home, my job, our car, no contact of any kind. She warned Pamela's counsel about sanctions for the stunt he tried to pull. The gavel sounded like a door locking from the right side. Word travels in neighborhoods the way smell travels from a bakery. The HOA sent Pamela a conduct notice. People who had typed "so sorry you went through that" under her post suddenly remembered errands. 2 weeks later, her husband Mark loaded a U-Haul. He looked hollow. He walked over and said, I didn't know. I believed he didn't want to, which is its own kind of knowing. He took Wyatt and left. Wyatt came to our door before they drove off. Can I say bye? He asked. Jordan met him on the porch. No words, not at first. Just that ridiculous handshake done slow like it mattered which it did. Wyatt got into the truck. The taillights blinked and turned the corner and were gone. Jordan stood alone in the doorway, red sneakers planted, shoulders squared in a way that said he was still a kid, and also not. The house next door sat empty for a month, realtor lockbox, a for sale sign that creaked when the wind got bored. Life got ordinary again in that way that feels like a gift. Jordan's math grade climbed. His jump shot got smoother. Our cameras caught nothing more dramatic than raccoons. New neighbors moved in with a little girl who adorably trash talks at Connect 4. One night I heard Jordan's headset chatter drift down the hall, laughter a familiar freeze blast in 3, and a new voice chimed in with a gamer tag that meant nothing to me and everything to him. You can't keep kids from finding each other, not really. I still lock the doors twice sometimes. I still tense at a certain register of voice across a store aisle. But the hum is lower. The folder on my laptop is thick, and the order is in a frame behind a plant, and the cameras blink like small promises. Justice didn't arrive like thunder. It arrived like paperwork, like a video frame, like a kid telling the truth into a microphone taller than his chin. It arrived like community, like Mrs. Alvarez 2 houses down, bringing lemon bars and saying, stay. It arrived like resolve, and because you never really stopped teaching your child how to walk through the world. We talk about power and fear, and what to do when someone tries to turn you into the villain of your own street. He asks smart questions. I give honest answers. We practice the handshake sometimes, just to make each other laugh. So now I'll ask you, where's the line between concerned neighbor and someone weaponizing rules to push people out? Would you have called the cops the first day, or the cameras, or a lawyer? Drop your take in the comments. Tell me where justice landed, where it didn't, and what accountability should look like on your block. If this struck a nerve, share it with someone who needs the reminder that truth isn't loud, but it lasts.